Hello, welcome to Local Anesthetic Podcast, your injection of local news. My name is Alex. Joining us as always for episode 341 is Rob. How you doing, Rob? And did you notice there what I did with the slogan? Could you tell?
I'll be honest, I didn't notice. I mean, if I'm completely honest, Alex, I very rarely am listening to what you say at the beginning because it's the same every week, and so I don't feel I need to necessarily pay too much attention to it. So no, I didn't know.
Well, I removed any reference to the word weekly or bi-weekly or any other time frame and just said your injection of mind-numbing local news. Therefore, not to commit ourselves to any period of time, because anybody who's been listening to us for a long time will know that the frequency of these episodes recently has been patchy at best. There have been many reasons for that. Rob has recently had a baby. I've been away. I've had stuff going on. He's had stuff going on. But we're still here, and we did. And somebody, Rob, has recognised everything we do for the world, I guess is the only way I can put it. We did have a very generous donation from a listener recently, so we'd like to thank you for that. You know who you are. We will aim to make this episode worthy of your donation, but I would say to anybody who wants to donate to this episode, because we do this completely for free and we have to cover our running costs and all the rest of it, but if you do want to donate, it's lapodcast.net and there's a PayPal button in the top right-hand corner. We'd very much appreciate it. Rob, is there any news?
There is. I mean, just going back to what you said before, obviously, I've personally thanked the person who gave us the very kind donation. As I said, any donation is appreciated. So please, get your fucking wallets out.
We're running at a loss here, people.
Yeah. I mean, this. We've been doing this for 9 years. I mean, I could have easily saved a house deposit in that time. I'm still living in my shed. Also, I should also acknowledge that there has been a bit of a gap. There has been a lot going on the last fortnight, I think, or the last 4 weeks, I should say. I think we should try and commit and go back to that fortnightly as much as we possibly can.
We will. Yeah. Rob, can I just say, just one thing I've noticed. It's taken me a while as we've been talking for a bit, but you've got a fancy new headset. You look like one of those people who works in a telemarketing company.
Oh yes, Alex, this is my sideline.
Right. No, but why have you? Did you purchase that for the podcast, or is it for some other reason? Is it work related?
No, it's work related. Basically, my old Sennheiser headphones, which I love, and because they produce a lovely sound, I just felt that I shouldn't have to keep using them for work purposes. So I asked if I could get a headset, which, as you can see, it's a one-eared headset with this very fancy microphone.
You're a lot clearer for me listening to you, I must say.
Oh, really? Yeah, I think people have said that.
For anybody who doesn't know, Rob works in a taxi cab booking sort of office. That's what he does. Isn't it wrong?
Alex, it's not just that. Also, can I just say, I also mine Bitcoin.
Right. Okay.
So if anyone wants to approach me, also hopefully next year or so, we will be launching our own currency. LA coin. So if anyone is interested, please do get in contact.
Invest now. Is there, Rob? Is there any other news? I'm so anxious to get on with this because I've got.
Alex. Yes, there is. So Claire, who's a relatively new listener, has been in touch. She is, as a lot of our listeners tend to do. She's working her way through our back catalogue, and apparently is getting a lot of enjoyment from it.
I envy her. I could do that. I could go back and listen to our podcast right from the beginning.
Yeah. I mean, you're not going to, nor am I. But it's a nice idea. But she sent an email to say, just to let you know, I'm still working backwards and now in the 260s, 70s. So she's,
it's like a proper achievement, isn't it? Wow. But she's actually working backwards. So she's not starting at the beginning. She's going back. So she'll slowly hear the audio quality degrade and all of that.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And she says, aka the glory days of Alex's recorder playing. And then I don't know why she's asking this, but she says, is it too much to hope for a revival one day?
No.
No. And I before Alex has a chance to answer, let me just say, yes, it is.
Rob, I found the purple rod. I will bring it out today. But I've been doing the recorder playing even recently, haven't I? I mean, I don't understand. Haven't I?
Well, I think, Alex, you were doing more flourishes, and I think you were doing more of your own compositions.
Oh, that's
it. Wasn't just
okay.
as an introduction to the listeners.
Do you know what? I'll do something for you, Claire, completely off my own head. It will be completely improvised, and it will be towards the end of this podcast, so listen out for that.
Right, Claire, I hold you personally responsible for this.
Any other news, Rob?
The only other piece of news, I think it's just the picture I shared with you, which was from Kyber. Kyber was in Nottingham. He shared a picture of some beautiful street art, and ironically, there was a picture of a pigeon with his head stuck in a McSlurry, or obviously an imitation McDonald's McFlurry carton. And obviously, we've alluded to McSlurry on this podcast on a few occasions, and I feel that we should get the credit for that.
Only for purposes of comedy. Just got to be careful with the lawyers there, Rob. I always enjoy a McDonald's McFlurry. It's perfect for really any occasion. It really is.
Really?
Yeah.
Any occasion, a funeral, for instance?
Yeah. Weddings, funerals, bar mitzvahs, christenings, really anything. It always goes down a treat. Rob.
Fair enough.
Before we actually get into the stories, one thing I wanted to mention is, because you and I don't actually think you and I have really talked about this, but I think we kind of need to, which is, I don't even know how to lead in this. I'll just say, GB News. You and me haven't talked about it a lot on air, right? But for anybody who doesn't know, especially international listeners, GB News is I think it's only been around 2 months. There's a new, recently nascent news broadcasting channel, which is meant to be more like in the American style format of news shows. So lots of kind of talking, dialogue, not so much reporting on news, and it's coming from a pretty right-wing bent, although they said it's not meant to be like Fox News, but it's all about, they're very anti-woke culture and inverted commas, all of that. Andrew Neil, who is a very respected broadcaster, whatever you think of him, is the chairman, did a nightly news slot for 2 weeks and then sodded off to France for a holiday and hasn't been heard of since. It's been plagued by difficulties, sound difficulties, camera work difficulties. It's often been very amateurish. Anyway, I won't go into that all because people probably know that. But the most recent thing they've done is give Nigel Farage a nightly news slot. And as I said to you, Rob, I think a couple of weeks ago, he's sitting on this desk, which isn't. It looks like a. When you go into a hotel, listeners, and there is a receptionist sitting behind a kind of very long, elongated, rectangular sort of desk type thing. That's what he's sitting behind. So he looks like he's working in this god-awful hotel. But also they've got his name on this sort of screen behind him in this sort of funky lettering, Farage. But most of the time, all you can see is the Rage bit of that. R-A-G-E. So all you can see behind him is the word rage. Anyway, what I wanted to point out to you, Rob, because I hadn't mentioned it to you, I thought I'd save it for the podcast, he has this new feature.
Right.
Which, again, this to me suggests, Rob, we've crossed the Rubicon into some sort of alternate timeline, parallel universe, whatever you want to call it. This is more evidence. This is the kind of thing, Rob, that could be straight out of the mind of Armando Iannucci or Chris Morris. So he has this, in his nightly programme, there is this slot now called Talking Pints, which is a play on word of talking points, where he sits behind that desk, he has a guest who sits at the end of the desk, and they both have a pint and talk.
You've got to be kidding me.
Let me just tell you who's been done so far. Talking Pints with Charlie Mullins, founder of Pimlico Plumbers. Talking Pints with Anne Widdecombe. Talking Pints with Graham Brady. Talking Pints with Colonel Bob Stewart. Talking Pints with Stanley Johnson. Talking Pints with ex-SAS soldier Phil Campion, which is straight out of an Alan Partridge bit.
Yep.
Talking Pints with David Davis. And Talking Pints with Sir Vince Cable, former leader of the Liberal Democrats, and Talking Pints with Laura Dodsworth. Now, I've watched a few of these. I will tell you that they're about 10 minutes. By the end of them, Farage has caned half a pint.
Are these interviews as tragic as they sound?
Well, the one I missed out was the one I watched, which I really want everybody to watch, which is Talking Pints with Ken Livingstone, where after the build-up, Ken Livingstone appears literally battered. Not from drink. His face is battered. He's got a plaster over a big plaster, I'm looking at it now, over the side of his forehead, down his eye. He's got a huge black eye, his face is covered in bruises, and he claims he tripped over his pet dog. Rob, you couldn't write this.
No, true. Is there a possibility that Nige and Ken got into a fist fight beforehand, and Nige got the better of him?
Well, Nigel Farage does say at the beginning, in order to explain Ken Livingstone's appearance, he does put the disclaimer that they have not had any fisticuffs, and Ken Livingstone then explains that he fell over his pet dog.
Right.
Anyway, that's well worth a watch. It is quite bizarre, and as I said, Farage, within that 10 minutes, Rob, he probably takes 4 big gulps out of his pint glass and gets that down to half a pint every time. He's got it perfected to a fine art.
I mean, from the stories I've read about GB News, I mean, obviously they are hemorrhaging viewers, and they've lost a lot of editorial staff and experienced editorial staff. It does boggle the mind how this thing is still on the air, because also there's been an exodus of advertisers as well. But unfortunately, Nige does pull in the viewers. People do love him, and those people are white males aged 55 upwards.
Well, Rob, let's get on with the podcast. I feel it is appropriate, Rob, to do an Olympic-themed story.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah. That seems... Because it feels like, since the last episode, which obviously was the listener special, it feels like a lot has happened in that time. Because obviously we've had the final of the Euros, we've had numerous achievement in the Olympics, we've obviously had the easing of COVID restrictions, etc.
Rob, I'm pretty sure we recorded another story in between those 2 times, no?
No, the last episode was the listener story special. Matt Hancock, Wanker Man.
You're right. Fuck. Right. Anyway, you might have seen this story, Rob. I mean, it was reported in many places, but The Guardian did cover it. But I do want to read it out. 24th of July, 2021. South Korean TV apologizes for Olympic images. Did you hear about this?
Yes. Yeah. That was in my list, actually.
So a South Korean broadcaster has apologised after using offensive images to depict several countries during the opening ceremony of the Olympics on Friday. Now, Rob, I might have suspected this of North Korea, but not South Korea, who are a very modern, incredibly modern democracy. But nevertheless, Rob, so The Guardian points out most of them varied from inane to odd. Great Britain's athletes were accompanied by a photo of the Queen. El Salvador, where cryptocurrency's legal tender was summed up by a Bitcoin, it used a photo of Dracula for Romania, a pizza for Italy, and a salmon for Norway. But my favourite one, Rob, was Ukraine, which was accompanied by an image of the Chernobyl disaster.
Do you know what? I mean, you can kind of understand that maybe there's someone who's been tasked with this, who's trying to have a bit of fun with it. And when they got to the Ukraine, they really struggled. I mean, I would struggle to say what's... I mean, when you think of Ukraine, what typifies the country?
Russian aggression.
Russian aggression and the Chernobyl disaster.
Yeah.
I mean, Alex, either way, I think he went with the right one.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, well, that's that story. Now, Rob, I have the quintessential local anaesthetic news story. We do try and feature them from time to time, Rob. You know what the quintessential local anaesthetic news story is, the one that really started this podcast. Very short, inexplicably short and brief, comical and bizarre.
Yep.
And pretty mundane at the same time. This comes by way of patch.com from their crime and safety section. It's a story from New Jersey, and it's very short, like I say, but the headline is, Fairlawn woman found stuck in rabbit cage.
Okay, is this a follow-up of the lady who it's not another stuck fetishist, is it?
No, well, I don't know, actually. I don't know. Fairlawn Police, New Jersey Police confirmed that a woman who was stuck in a rabbit cage at a senior housing building got there by accident and no foul play was involved, which is reassuring to hear, Rob. I like the idea of stuffing... That sounds a bit weird. I like the idea of stuffing a woman into a rabbit cage. I mean, I find that idea comical, not...
Yeah, you don't want to think that someone has been forcibly inserted into a rabbit cage. Yeah, no.
Police Sergeant Brian Metzler said officers responded to a multi-resident senior housing building on River Road at 1:56 p.m. on Sunday. I do like that phrase, a multi-resident senior housing building. Is there such thing as a single resident senior housing building? Just a big, massive block with just one person living there?
Is that not a house?
Yeah. They were originally called to provide assistance to an 86-year-old at the building, but found that she was stuck in a rabbit cage. 86 years old, Rob, stuck in a rabbit cage.
Brilliant.
Police
not brilliant, obviously. She could be seriously injured. I'm not saying it's brilliant that she was in there, but just the scene.
Well, Rob, worry not. Police were able to release the woman from the cage and she was transported to Valley Hospital for evaluation. It's unclear how long the woman had been stuck in the cage, Metzler said.
I mean, that's alarming. Also, was there a rabbit in there with her? Because I'd be more concerned that this rabbit may have passed on.
Well, Rob, and she's eating it in there to stay alive. What
maybe, Alex, who knows?
What do you speculate happened here?
Oh, it is very difficult. I mean, I imagine, because isn't there a big thing about people taking animals to care homes? Because apparently, it helps stimulate. It provides sort of comfort and stimulation for the residents. So maybe, I don't know, maybe their weekly visit from the pet man or woman had been cancelled, and she wanted the interaction with a rabbit, managed to find a hutch in, I don't know, the back garden, and then was really...
Rob, this was in her property. It was a rabbit cage, and she was stuck inside it. Well, how big was this fucking rabbit? How small was this woman?
I mean, Alex, you can get very big rabbits.
Right.
Do you know what? I've no idea. I mean, yeah. Maybe she was being forcibly evicted and so decided to move into the rabbit hutch.
It's funny you say that, Rob, because Claire reminded me of things from the past, but I haven't really shared many of my publications with you recently. But this is a new subscription that I do. It's just called Big Rabbit. And you can see, I mean, look at those, Rob.
Right. Yeah. See, I didn't realise there was something beyond X-rated, but and also there's a lot of shaved rabbits in that publication.
Rob, you did talk about stimulation, and you look pretty stimulated right now, I must say. Right, let's do some local news from the United States. This is from, I don't know how you say the name of, well, it's kutv.com, but it's a CBS-run local news website. This is by Adrian Delgado from Wednesday the 28th of July 2021. Washington man shoots fridge after soda can explodes, police say.
Right, so hang on. Did you think someone was firing at him, so he fired back?
Basically, this is actually a really tragic story in many ways, humorous but tragic. So Washington, police say a Yakima, Washington man is under arrest after he shot at his refrigerator, believing someone was shooting at him after a soda can exploded.
Right.
Officers responded to the scene on Saturday after receiving reports that the man had opened fire at a refrigerator. When police arrived, they say they found the man outside the home in an alleyway, yelling incoherently, in quotes, with a gun lying in the middle of the road. After he was taken into custody, police say witnesses told them what had happened. The man, Rob, had been placing soda cans into the fridge when one of them exploded. He immediately pulled the pistol out of his waistband, because, it's normal behaviour, Rob, to walk around with your gun in your waistband while you're at home.
Absolutely.
And fired a round into the bottom of the fridge. The man later told police in an interview that the people who live in the basement wanted to kill him and that they had a shot at him, so he fired in self-defense.
Yeah, okay, I'm with you. Yeah, makes sense.
Well, investigators say that nobody lives in the basement below the man and that, in fact, there is no basement at all.
Oh,
Isn't there a basement,
Alex, I feel you've been deliberately leading me down the garden path. So this man clearly has some issues, and now, added to that, he thinks that his refrigerator has a vendetta against him.
Police questioned the man about the gun and he said he had found it 2 weeks prior. The man was arrested and booked for second-degree unlawful possession of a firearm and discharge of a firearm. That is that. Right, Rob, let's talk about masturbation.
Right. That took a turn. Okay.
This is from Fox News. Sorry, folks, but it's by Ben Cost from the New York Post. July 23rd, Rob, by way of Japan.
Ooh.
Right-handed man almost masturbates to death. Medical case study.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Rob, you should be. This is a cautionary tale. This fellow redefined, in quotes, mind-blowing sex after he suffered a life-threatening stroke while repeatedly masturbating. Now, medical experts are saying he's lucky he escaped the ultimate unhappy ending. The unnamed 51-year-old right-handed man, in quotes, from Japan. 51-year-old right-handed man. There's a lovely ring to it.
Yeah. Does it, it says repeatedly. Does it say how many times he'd masturbated in order to produce a stroke?
Rob, this was an Olympics event. Did you not see it? They're including everything in the Olympics this year. Skateboarding,
it did.
Masturbating, everything.
How would you do it though? Would it be the I don't know, would it be the person who comes first, or would it be the the person who managed to endure the longest without succumbing to friction burn? I mean, how would this be judged?
It's endurance, Rob. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Endurance masturbation.
Yeah. It's still on.
Yeah,
if you switch on, if you get the right channel, it's still on. They've been going at it for 4 days now.
do you get some stimulation? I mean, do they use your? I don't know why you're picking up again, but
they need the copy of my Big Rabbit magazine.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, so the unnamed 51-year-old right-handed man from Japan. Can I just say the unnamed 51-year-old right-handed man from Japan is not only a great name for some sort of book, but also a good name for our episode title.
It is.
He admittedly enjoyed pleasuring himself several times a day, according to the new case study published in the medical journal of stroke and cerebrovascular diseases. Now, that's just an unfortunate Rob pun, really, that we've got the word stroke in there.
It is, yeah. I mean, he says several times a day. I mean, obviously we all enjoy masturbation. It's one of those daily delights. Not daily. It doesn't matter. But my point is, how many times a day was he doing it?
They don't say. But
surely that's a crucial piece. Alex, I'm already going blind. Am I going to get a stroke as well?
One explosive self-love session went awry when, after climaxing, the serial stroker was struck down by a thunderclap headache and severe vomiting. Unnerved.
No, hang on, Alex. You can't say serial stroker. You should not be making stroke jokes if this man got a stroke.
This is what Fox News are saying, Rob. I'm reading it out.
This is out of order, Alex.
Yeah. Unnerved by the unsexy symptoms, the man rushed himself to Nagoya City University Hospital, where he was found to have low blood pressure and confusion, 2 telltale signs of a cerebrovascular accident, according to the medical case study. Emergency medical technicians suspected he had a stroke while stroking, and a subsequent CT scan confirmed that the man had indeed suffered a subarachnoid hemorrhage, SAH, a potentially fatal type of stroke sparked by ruptured blood vessels in the space surrounding the brain. Prior case studies have reported that sex, including the autoerotic variety, was the immediate preceding activity before a ruptured aneurysm in up to 14% of patients. According to clinical neuropsychologist Dr. Amy Baird, author of Sex in the Brain, How Your Brain Controls Your Sex Life, Columbia University Press, 2020. I'm sure it's available from all good bookshops. The risk of death by sex-induced stroke can be compounded by taking cocaine, Rob, or Viagra before the act.
I'm not doing that, so that should be okay. I really I think last episode we had a fact.
It also mentions mini cheddars, Rob.
No, it doesn't, Alex. Don't tease me like this. I think on the last episode we had a fact around clowns. There's a clown fact this week. I've got a masturbation fact for you, Alex. Would you like to hear it?
Yeah, go on then.
Okay. You know that cornflakes were invented as a way to deter young boys from masturbating. Did you know this?
This sounds made up.
No, this is absolutely true. The idea, the inventor of the cornflakes, Mr. Kellogg's, obviously, had the idea of trying to have a plain diet because he thought that a plain diet would stem the boys' carnal urges, and so he invented cornflakes because he thought they were a very sort of bland breakfast cereal, and he thought that was a good way by which to stop young boys entering into carnal sins.
Right. I mean, I actually eat cornflakes for breakfast every day. And I normally masturbate straight after, so I don't think it means anything.
Yeah, sometimes during.
Yeah, indeed. Okay. The man survived his near-fatal orgasm ordeal. Now, hang on, Rob. Near-fatal orgasm ordeal.
It has to be that.
He was released from the hospital within 2 weeks in excellent condition, according to doctors. However, he should thank his lucky stars he didn't achieve the opposite of a happy ending, as a ruptured brain aneurysm causes death in 40% of cases, Baird reported. Meanwhile, 2/3 of survivors are left with serious neurological deficits. He would be scared. I mean, I imagine that first time he masturbated after that, he'd be shitting it.
Do you think he waited till he got home? Or did he think that, he was in the hospital, he had some spare time, he just nipped to the bathroom?
I think the latter. This isn't the first time someone has suffered a vascular mishap during an act of self-gratification. In 2016, a Bronx hospital worker allegedly died of a heart attack while masturbating to porn at work, according to police sources. Okay, Rob, you got some stories for us.
Yes, so my first story is, I actually saw it in the Traitorous Guardian, but I tried to get a local news source, then ended up probably going even further afield. So this is from globalnews.ca, so a Canadian publication. And it's by Chris Janelsic. Let's go with that and pretend that's his name. The story's from the 4th of August. I'm surprised to see this, but the headline is 3 injured after iceberg at Titanic Museum collapses.
Oh my God, you couldn't write it.
So, more than a century after an iceberg brought down the Titanic, another fake one injured 3 visitors at a museum in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee.
I love names. That was in America then?
It was in America, yeah. No, it was in America.
Some of the names you get in American sort of towns and places. Pigeon Falls. Is that what it's called?
Pigeon Forge.
Oh, Pigeon Forge. It should be called Iceberg Falls. They should rename it.
Very good.
Iceberg Falls, which, by the way, just sounds very evocative. Somewhere I want to go, Rob.
It does. Yeah, it does. The museum, modelled after the boat and dedicated to the ill-fated 1912 voyage, also featured an iceberg wall that consisted of real ice that visitors could touch. According to local news outlet WVLT, it was created to use a water filtration system. Useful fact. Anyway, the ice wall collapsed on Monday evening, injuring 3 people nearby. As of writing this, the extent of the injuries is unknown.
So how big was this thing that just collapsed? And when did it collapse and how?
So, I'm guessing it melted. But basically, if you can imagine it, they had a 4-sized replica of the Titanic.
And it was actual ice?
It was an actual ice wall, yeah, that visitors could reach out to. So, the museum's owners, by the way, this is a bit of a coincidence, but Mary Kellogg Jocelyn and John Jocelyn posted about the incident on their official Facebook page. So they wrote, on the evening of Monday, August the 2nd, so obviously this is bang up-to-date news, an incident occurred at the Titanic Museum attraction. Our ice wall collapsed and injured 3 guests who were taken to hospital. At the time, we did not know the extent of their injuries, and our thoughts and prayers continue to be with those who were affected, including the first responders.
I mean, that's a lawsuit right there, isn't it? I mean,
it could be argued, Alex, that maybe they were just living the full experience.
Yeah, you're right. You're right, Rob.
Yeah. The Pigeon Forge Police Department said in a statement that the collapse appears to be accidental. The museum is conducting its own investigation into the attraction. So the Cedar Bay Entertainment.
Well, it'd be a very Rob. It'd be a very elaborate, premeditated scheme to try and knock some people off, to smuggle yourself into a museum and somehow melt this ice wall to a sufficient degree that it falls on the people you want to kill at just the right time. I mean, if that's your murder ploy, credit to you, you know.
Yeah, good point. So to give you a bit of background, so the Cedar Bay Entertainment opened in 2010. Guests received boarding passes containing the names of actual passengers of crew members who were aboard the British passenger liner, and visitors can see more than 400 Titanic artifacts, shovel coal in the boiler room, and feel 28-degree water through guided tours, according to the attraction's website.
All right, Rob, stop. You need to repeat that to me. There are some things, my ears, my spidey sense, my local news spider sense went off a few things there, but I wasn't sure what. Tell me about this experience again.
So when you turn up, you get a boarding pass containing the names of actual passengers.
That's a bit shit.
You can see 400 Titanic artifacts. You can shovel coal in the
bones.
No, like I don't know, like a teacup or something. You know, things that are actually on board.
Can I buy a T-shirt in the gift shop that says, "I went on the Titanic and died"?
I'm going to put that out there and say no.
That's a shame.
I mean, surely it would be better saying I survived the Titanic experience.
Yeah. I'd still like mine.
You can also shovel coal in the boiler room and feel 28-degree water.
28 degree. So that
doesn't feel that cold to me.
28. Rob, that's 28 degrees Fahrenheit.
Oh, good. Oh, so they're talking about minus temperatures.
Yeah, not centigrade, Rob. That'd be really warm.
Yeah, I was about to say. I'm sure the pool is my local pool is hotter than that, or cooler than
that. Yeah. Look, Rob. Hang on. As part of the experience, do you get to shag Kate Winslet, and do you get hit by that? What's that actor's name? Billy Zane. Billy Zane. Billy Zane. Do you get hit by Billy Zane? Do you get to shag Kate Winslet?
Doesn't say, unfortunately, no. It just goes on to the actual facts about this Titanic disaster, which for me is a bit of a downer.
Hang on a minute. Let me play the Titanic theme tune. That.
Okay.
I've kind of forgotten how it goes, but I think that was pretty spot on.
So you did say that was the.
Hang on, let's do the. What is it? Celine Dion. She goes near, far, wherever you. Okay. Let's start again.
Right.
Hang on. I mean, it's kind of the harmony version.
Have you actually seen the film, just out of interest?
I did. I sat through the entire thing in the cinema, and I have to say it was so emotionally manipulative because, it was James Cameron. I did shed a tear, Rob.
I haven't actually watched it for many years after sitting down with ex-girlfriend and drinking a bottle of wine and then crying uncontrollably. That's a true story.
But also, Rob is a what's that phrase? When you're interested in something.
A fan, I suppose. I mean, I wouldn't call myself a fan, but maybe I have a passing interest.
Connoisseur? No,
maybe connoisseur, yeah. Aficionado.
That's it, of all things to do with the Titanic, not the film, the real disaster.
Yeah.
He's got a collection of bones from real, some of the people who sadly died in his... I mean, that's what you told me they were.
Yeah, well, that's what they said they were on eBay.
Right.
Just imagine if you bought some, it's just a bag of bones saying Titanic survivors. Well, not survivors, obviously. Anyway, right, moving on.
Okay.
Next story is from the Evening Standard. It's from the 12th of July from Leah Sinclair. I'm hoping you haven't seen this. London Library apologises for bringing actor dressed in bare-bottom monkey costume to children's event. Sorry,
what? I didn't understand any of that. All I heard was about bare bottom and children's event. So, say that again more slowly, because it seems like there's a lot crammed into that insane headline.
London Library apologises for bringing actor dressed in bare bottom monkey costume to children's event.
A bear is in naked?
Yes.
A bare bottomed monkey costume. So like, what are those monkeys called? Orangutan? No. Baboon.
Baboon, yeah.
To a children's event.
I feel that they've missed a key detail out of the headline, but it gets worse.
Oh, right, okay.
So, a London library has apologised for...
Where's this from, Rob? What paper?
The Evening Standard.
Right.
A London library has apologised for holding an event to encourage children to read, during which an actor dressed in a bare-bottom monkey costume with a fake penis.
Now look, did they commission this actor and he had to go out and get the costume and he's really fucked up here? Because that's what I suspect happened. Or did they provide the costume?
No,
are there pictures? Are there pictures, Rob?
Just Alex, there's a video if you want to see it.
Right, okay, right, give me the headline.
Okay,
and I'll look it up in a minute. Right, give me it again.
So
bare-bottomed monkey costume.
London Library. That should be enough. But you can't play it beforehand because the video. I mean, Alex, I'm imagining that this troupe of actors, a la Legs Akimbo, just saw this opportunity and just ran with it.
I've got the picture. I've got a picture of him. Can I describe it?
Yeah, please do.
By the way, I do. One of my publications, Rob, is all about bare-bottom monkeys. That's all I'll say. This is a man wearing a furry sort of. I mean, it doesn't really look that much like a monkey. He looks like something from Thundercats, Rob.
Yes,
his fur
like
is striped, vertical stripes in rainbow colours. I don't know if that's sort of pride related. I don't know, but there are two cutouts round the nipples, Rob. So his nipples are exposed.
Yeah.
He's got what looks like a dildo hanging from between his legs, and his arse is out.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So and there he is walking through the library.
So
can I watch the video? Can I watch the video or not?
Oh yeah, please. Yeah, go ahead. Go and watch the video.
Okay, I'll describe for the listener. Right, I'm watching the video. Warning: contains scenes of an adult nature. This is from The Sun. Okay. So people are running. This is the whole troupe. There's a frog. There's a monkey man with the penis hanging. I don't know what that other person's meant to be. You're right. They are like, and why are they standing outside of the library holding placards at passing motorists and jumping up and down? Do you know?
It's the fact that he's making what clearly is a dildo sort of, flap in the wind as he jumps about.
But why? Rob, are they high on E?
This was an event encouraging children to read, Alex. Would you not want your children going to this kind of event?
Now, I'm asking you, why were the three actors dancing around outside the library waving placards? I don't know what was written on them at motorists. Do you know, is the answer in this story?
Well, it's obviously to publicise the event. I mean, I'm not sure that would attract me in, but... So footage shared on social media on Saturday showed members of the Mandiga Arts Group at Redbridge Library's summer reading event at Goodmayes Library in East London. The three performers were filmed outside the event, with one dressed in an appropriate rainbow monkey costume, raising concerns from residents. So writer Janice Turner wrote, I'd really love to see a detailed breakdown of the commissioning process whereby Redbridge Council commissioned the Rainbow Dildo Butt Monkey as a means to teach children to read.
Now, Rob, isn't that the episode title? Please read that bit out again from Rainbow. Read it to me from Rainbow.
The Rainbow Dildo Butt Monkey.
Teaching children how to read?
So the Rainbow Dildo Butt Monkey as a means to teaching children to read.
I don't think we can have those with the word children in there. I don't think I'll get past the censors, to be honest.
No, possibly not.
Oh my God, that's good though, Rob. The Rainbow Dildo Butt Monkey.
Yeah. I mean, if nothing else, what an enduring image. I mean, that's the kind of... Just imagine if you were in the Amazon rainforest and you've been trekking for days and all of a sudden your guide just turns and says, look, there. The Rainbow Dildo Butt Monkey. Amazing, Alex.
I believe that's what in the new Indiana Jones film, which is filmed.
I'd watch that. That's probably better than the fucking Crystal Skull, anyway.
Oh, Rob, don't be too hard on the Crystal Skull. You got to watch it again now without all the expectations and just enjoy it for the fun, pulpy movie it's meant to be.
By the way, the reason, obviously the whole opening scene where he gets in the fridge. That relates back to the Future, which I found out the other week.
Right, I've heard this, I think. Yeah, remind me.
Yeah, because initially the time machine in Back to the Future used to be a fridge. And obviously Steven Spielberg was the executive producer and he liked the idea, and because the idea that the fridge could withstand the radioactive blast that's created from the plutonium.
Yep.
And so it carried forward to the Indiana Jones film, which is why it's in there. It's a homage to early...
And as you know, Spielberg and George Lucas made all the Indiana Jones films, including the Crystal Skull, and the fridge thing George Lucas had a lot to do with that, apparently, too.
Yeah. So images also show the actor inside the library causing an uproar amongst parents. One parent said someone needs to lose their job over this. A second asked, this is unbelievable. Have we completely lost our moral compass as a society? Redbridge Libraries have since apologised, ensuring this will never happen again. During an event put on at the library today, there was a performance by a carnival arts company. Unfortunately, one of the animal costume was appropriate, which we were not aware of at the time of booking. We deeply apologise for any offence caused. This is being looked into.
But I don't understand. What did sorry, Robert, because I've got to follow up to this. Did the actor explain what he was thinking of?
No.
Right. Well, Rob. From the Independent, or from the Indy 100, from the Independent, Kate Plummer, Thursday, 15th of July, pictures emerge, Rob, wait for this, of Boris Johnson posing with troop behind bare-bottomed monkey costume.
Fuck off.
I've got a picture of Boris Johnson here with the troop behind him, waving bananas behind his head. I'll read the story. Remember that sleep paralysis demon monkey, the rainbow-coloured one, with a bare bum and a fake penis? Of course you do, how could you not? Life is now split into two distinct eras. BM, before monkey, and AM, after monkey. Our lives will never be the same after seeing that rainbow-coloured, not safe for work primate. Never. Oh, rainbow-coloured, not safe for work primate is good as well, Rob.
Yeah, that's good.
Anyway, Boris Johnson has now been linked to the acting troupe responsible for it now because, why not? In a Pulitzer-worthy investigation, The Sun has dug up photos of the Prime Minister posing with animals from the Mandinga Arts while he was Mayor of London in 2008, and we are sure it will become his press office's top priority to spin as surely a public outcry is merely pending. In case it passed you by, Goodmay's Library in Redbridge, East London, invited an actor in a rainbow monkey costume with a fake penis and a bare bum to the launch event of a children's wholesome educational reading challenge, and in doing so, created an absolute shitstorm. There's local Labour MP Wes Streeting asked how anyone involved, including your staff, thought that a costume described by one national journalist with depressing accuracy as a rainbow dildo butt monkey was appropriate for family audiences around our libraries and our public realm, let alone a festival aimed at promoting literacy amongst children. And a local councillor, Rob, lost his rag. So Jazz Athwal wrote on Twitter, I was appalled by the event our independent leisure contractor organised at Redbridge Libraries on Saturday. I have launched a full investigation into the incident and will put stringent measures in place to ensure something like this can never happen again. The library has apologised. The costume, Mandinga Arts have said on their blog that the costume has been retired. They said over 19 years we have positively collaborated with local residents and public bodies to deliver colourful and celebratory characters, and in this case we undoubtedly got it wrong. Our lack of judgment in the choice of costume is one we deeply regret, having profoundly undermined our relationship with partners and the public. In the future, we'll hold ourselves to a higher standard when determining the suitability of a costume. Although the monkey was well received at carnival events with a mixed audience, it was entirely unsuitable for a children's event and should never have been used. The monkey costume has been retired. But now, just to finish, Rob, the troupe's influence has spread further than just East London, and one particular monkey from the group could be whispering in the most powerful ear in Westminster, etc. Now, Rob, I want to say this. I've got a picture here of Boris Johnson in 2008 with this troupe, Mandinga Arts, standing beside him dressed as these monkeys.
Yeah.
How about this as an idea? Boris Johnson is part of the Mandinga Arts troupe, and his whole career has been a piece of performance art.
Alex, if that was true, that would make Boris Johnson one of the greatest performance artists of the modern era.
Yeah. But is it right in the name of performance art, Rob, to kill however many people by shit government policy during a pandemic? Is any of that right?
Alex.
By the way, his wife is expecting another child. How many kids does this man have? We don't know. Nobody
Alex,
fucking knows.
He, like Daniel Day-Lewis, once he's committed to a role, he sticks within his lane.
This is the ultimate method acting. Or
He's
Joaquin Phoenix, even. Is it Joaquin Phoenix? Joaquin?
Right, Joaquin. Yeah, Joaquin.
Joaquin Phoenix, yeah.
Yeah, I've got one more story, Alex. It's only a short one, but I think the listeners will appreciate it. It is from the Scottish Sun, which I'm not sure if that's better.
I think it actually is, Rob.
Yeah, I think it is. I don't know. It doesn't seem as toxic. Anyway, it's by Jonathan Whitelaw from the 17th of July. Cop called officers for help after being chased through Glasgow by drone that was actually Jupiter.
What? What?
So a rookie cop, a rookie cop.
I want to see that movie. Actually, just bring me a movie right out of the style of the 80s. Lots of guns, lots of bloodshed, and it's just called Rookie Cop.
Love it. By the way, I was watching RoboCop was on the other night, and
oh my god! But it's just because when I was a kid, you didn't really appreciate the satire in those films.
Yeah,
Paul Verhoeven is a master satirist. The same with Starship Troopers. I mean, they're deeply satirical social commentaries, actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, RoboCop is just a fucking great film on every level.
Yeah. So a rookie cop called for help from other officers after she thought she was being chased by a drone that turned out to be the planet Jupiter.
Yeah, Rob, but hang on, in her defence, people in Scotland, Rob, are not familiar really yet with planetary systems, star systems. They're not really aware of our place in the cosmos. I think that bit of education is still rolling out. That we are not the centre of the universe, all that. So I don't think that a lot of Scottish people have heard of gravity.
No, I think that's fair, Alex. I know that a lot of them still worshipping the sun god and Luna, the moon god, and so on and so forth. So it's understandable.
Yeah.
Obviously, that is a joke. I love Scotland.
Is it?
Yes. Yeah. No, I'm not getting into the shit on this one. This is all said in the name of jest. It's reported that the PC had left a Glasgow police station at 1 a.m. on Tuesday morning and noticed an object in the sky following her. She then
for fuck's sake.
She then tried to lose what she thought was a drone chasing her by driving towards a shopping centre off the M8. The Daily Record reports the cop, who was in the first 2 years of service, called 101 and told the call handler she was being chased by a drone along the motorway.
Sorry, the rookie cop called 101. Doesn't she have a police radio to get immediate backup?
Yeah, I was wondering about that as well. It seems like, I mean, she's a rookie, Alex. Maybe you have to go through radio training before you get that.
Sorry, Rob. The more I think about this, rookie cop is a great idea for a movie.
Yeah.
It just says it all. You know, they get partnered with a lot more experienced person. They make mistakes on the job, but they really grow into it. I quite like the idea of a female in the role. I mean, once upon a time, it could have been Jamie Lee Curtis, but, you know, she's getting on a bit now. It would need to be somebody young, fresh. You know.
No, Alex, she could have had a career change. Like a last-minute career change, decided that she wants to get into the police.
No, I don't want it to be a comedy, Rob.
No.
Yeah. No, it's not like Kindergarten Cop.
Again, are you going to base it on the mean streets of Glasgow? Or somewhere a bit more friendly?
No. It's going to be in America, Rob. You can't have a movie called Rookie Cop set in Glasgow.
No, fair enough. Okay.
The pants.
So she obviously called 101 and told the call handler she was being followed by the drone along the motorway. After being told to return to the station, it's reported that she found...
God?
No, that she was found in the yard with a hood up, trying to hide from the drone.
Sorry, is this woman all right? She doesn't seem very well qualified. I mean, is she okay? Well, she sounds idiotic.
Other officers told her it was the planet Jupiter, which is 365 million miles away in space.
Okay, no, stop. Rob, stop. Let's say it had been a drone. This is not the right reaction. If you've got the skills, Rob, required to be a cop, you cannot be this easily frightened. Let's say it was a drone. Running around the streets of Glasgow and hiding in an alleyway with your hood up is not the correct response. You're meant to be a police officer.
Alex, she wasn't running around. She drove to She drove to a shopping centre off the M8 motorway. Then she went back to the police yard, and that's where she put her hood up and tried to hide in the corner. What's wrong with that? She was back at the station. There's no issue. As I said, other officers...
Sounds like she was pissed.
I mean, it was Glasgow. Other officers told her it was the planet Jupiter. A police Scotsman spokesman said, we were called about 1 a.m. on Tuesday with a report of potentially suspicious drone activity in the Glasgow area. Officers quickly established that there was no criminality and were able to reassure the woman involved. It doesn't obviously say that the woman involved was one of their police officers, and the incident was obviously the planet Jupiter, and posed obviously no threat, at least not in the next a couple of million years, probably.
Now, Rob, before we get on to the listener story of the week, which we always look forward to, when I was down in Dorset, I was walking into my parents' living room and saw the Telegraph the Daily Telegraph, lying on a chair, left open at this page. And I immediately had to take a picture of it, Rob, because it is from their book reviews. And I need to read this to you because it is really quite incredible. And actually, I'd like to give this book a promotion. But wow, you're going to be so interested by this, Rob. It's by Colin Freeman. The date, 24th of July. Exclusive, nothing ever happens here. From tin pot tyrants to pigeon tattoos, this tale of life on a local paper is a love letter to a dying world.
Interesting.
So the book in question, Rob, is called Panic as Man Burns Crumpets, The Vanishing World of the Local News Journalist. Now, come on, Rob. We need to get in contact with this, guys. But Roger Lytolis. Because we need to get in contact with this guy. We have been covering the death of local news journalism in action. Claire will notice, as she goes through our back catalogue, working backwards, that as she moves ever more backwards, she will get to a point where all our stories will really exclusively sourced from local newspapers. But local news journalism, Rob, is dying. This is the write-up. If you have ever run a village fete, complained about potholes in your street, or become a regional Scrabble champion, you may have met a journalist like Roger Lytolis, a writer for the Carlisle News and Star and its weekly sister paper, the Cumberland News. He has spent 25 years in the dying world of local newspapers, which have a generous definition of what counts as, in quotes, news. His is a realm of headlines like Gatepost Painted and Coffee Poured, where the opening of a new kitchen at Carlisle Community Centre gets the kind of coverage normally reserved for royal weddings. Perhaps not surprisingly, he finds many of his stories tedious, as do some of his readers, whose online feedback includes, in quotes, utter drivel, and he feels guilty about not moving on to bigger things. While a former colleague interviews Donald Trump, Lytolis's career highlights include meeting the man with the pigeon tattoos, a Cumbrian pigeon fancier whose favourite birds are inked on his arms. Yet Lytolis has now achieved what few of his peers have ever done, writing a book about his experiences. Many former local newspaper hacks have dreamed of doing this, convinced that the absurdities of small-town reporting beats would make a hilarious tome. Well, they make a hilarious podcast because we've been doing it for 9 years, Rob.
Yep.
Alas, the London-based publishing world, traditionally sniffy about hacks' memoirs anyway, has seldom been keen, and to date there exists no local newspaper answer to Evelyn Waugh's 1938 novel Scoop. That Lytolis is now himself out of a job may account for his publisher's interest. In 2019, after a quarter of a century serving Cumbrian readers, he was made redundant, yet another casualty of the meltdown in local newspapers that has seen hundreds close in the past decade. Some of the stories he covers, such as interviewing Stevie Las Vegas, Cumbria's leading Elvis tribute act, are fun, while others, such as a curtain raiser on a new Primark store, are, in quotes, a bit crap. A feature writer rather than a reporter, his job was technically at the glamorous end. While colleagues are often stuck at the magistrate's court or in council meetings, he is a man about town doing various stunts, be it joining the local nude swimming club, going out with the fire brigade, or being pulverised while trying his hand at traditional Cumberland wrestling. I would have loved to have read that story. This reminds me... So he did a story, Rob, where he got beaten up, to experience Cumberland wrestling.
Traditional Cumberland wrestling, wow.
This may not be Pulitzer stuff, but it takes skill. Writing about a local crematorium open day, for example, hones a journalistic talent for getting something out of nothing, especially if the editor wants it upbeat. And on local papers, facts are still sacred. Get something wrong and people won't just troll you online, they may turn up in your office demanding retribution. On one day when the parish pump has run particularly dry, a colleague is sent to report about a stain on a reader's wall that is said to resemble Elvis. Rob, we've had stories like this. It turns out to look nothing like him and is, well, just a stain, but the paper runs the story big anyway. Lytolis also interviews various passing celebrities, most of them aware that speaking to the Cumberland News proves their careers are on the wane. Fish, lead singer of prog rockers Marillion, I remember Marillion, they were great, seems philosophical about this. Unlike Toya Wilcox, remember Toya Wilcox? Who retorts, somewhat frostily, that she is now in a band with the drummer from R.E.M. Worse still is Belinda Carlisle, who can't even come up with a quote about playing in the city that shares her surname. Even these encounters now feel like glimpses of a golden age. In his newsroom's rush towards online clickbait, mobile phone footage of fights in local supermarkets does far better than Lytolis' thoughtful interviews with the Bishop of Carlisle. And that is true, Rob. That is what local newspapers have become. If you go onto their websites, it is clickbait and mobile phone footage of fights in supermarkets.
Yeah, do you know what, Alex? I can't disagree with that. He's absolutely right.
Can I just say, clickbait and mobile phone footage of fights in local supermarkets is, and will always be, Rob, a beautiful episode title.
Yep.
Anyway, they say I did enjoy the book, not least because as a graduate of the Grimsby Evening Telegraph, I've dreamed of writing something similar myself. However, despite jacket endorsements from Cumbrian cultural luminaries such as Melvyn Bragg, some of the anecdotes feel unpolished, perhaps in need of attention from one of those many redundant Cumberland News sub-editors. There is a need for a definitive book about life on local papers, not least because they may soon disappear altogether, but I'm not quite sure this is it. Not my views, Rob, the views of Colin Freeman, writing for the Daily Telegraph. I just wanted to read that out. Thought it was interesting. Okay, Rob, it is now time for our listener story of the week, but I won't do our ditty. I'm going to play, as promised for Claire, something that I've improvised. I promise you, this is straight off the top of my head. Right, come on then, Rob. Who's it from? Don't just stare there.
Oh,
I mean,
sorry.
I know some of my pieces can stir the heart, Rob, but this is a podcast. Dead air is a crime. Get on with it.
Sorry, Alex, there was a pigeon on the roof. I got distracted. So this is actually from Claire. this is actually a follow-up story. So she actually heard the original story some time ago whilst working her way through the back catalogue and somehow has managed to find an update.
Do we know where Claire resides?
Yeah, she's in New Orleans.
Very nice.
Yeah, exotic. Exotic? I mean...
That's the wrong word, Rob.
Yeah, you're right, yeah.
Did you mean erotic?
That's what I meant. Yeah, you're right. I see. So this is from the Irish Central website, which covers, obviously, Irish news. It's by Shane O'Brien from the 29th of May, 2019. As I said, this is a follow-up story.
Stop! Rob, you just reminded me with the word Ireland, and then I thought of Ireland, then I thought of Northern Ireland, then I thought of Scotland, then I thought of Wales. And are we going to mention, Rob, the fact that you have discovered, and you can talk to, I don't know if you want to, it's on the podcast, but after all the years of Rob denying on this podcast that he has any Welsh heritage whatsoever, Rob has discovered that I was right all along, and he's Welsh. Explain to the listeners.
Well, it's kind of a mixed bag, really. So my stepmom is very kindly going back through my family tree. And on my mum's side, it turns out that there is obviously a Welsh connection from Pembrokeshire. It's obviously a beautiful part of Wales. It's not, Newport.
Don't try and flower it up. Nothing wrong with Newport, Rob.
Yeah, well, you haven't been there. I mean, the Celtic man is lovely, but so apparently there is Welsh in my family, as well as as I already knew the southwest, like Bath and Bristol and so on, but also German, more importantly. So from this point onwards, I will be supporting the German national football team. And interestingly, so I think it's my great grandmother married my great grandfather in Shoreditch, in a church in Shoreditch, which I didn't realise.
That's not particularly interesting, but anyway.
Well, you don't let me finish. If anyone's seen the TV show Rev, that's the church where they got married. St Leonard's, if anyone's cares and is still listening. Anyway, on to the story. So, Irish woman who married a ghost pirate claims he tried to kill her.
Now, this shows Claire has been listening to the podcast, doesn't it? Because presumably, as she's been working through the back catalogue, she's found those stories we have covered of people having sex with ghosts, marrying ghosts, doing whatever they want with ghosts. I subscribed, Rob. I subscribed to a publication, that was meant to be an erotic magazine about ghosts, and when I got it, all the pages were empty. And I think Rob, I was had there. I think it was a scam. And I wrote to them and they said, well, they're ghosts. You can't see them. I never got my money back. I wanted to take it up with Trading Standards, but I was a bit embarrassed.
And to be honest, I think they've got bigger fish to fry.
Yeah.
So Anna Teagle was forced to call off her relationship with. Do you remember this woman? She's a Jack Sparrow impersonator.
Oh my God, the woman who impersonates Jack Sparrow.
Yes. And obviously,
this is a follow-up, Rob. This is a follow-up.
Yeah, married the Haitian pirate ghost.
Yeah.
I think we mentioned that the relationship was coming to an end, but we've got more information now. So Anna Teagle married the pirate named Jack on international waters in January 2018, but said that the spirit became violent when she was forced to end the relationship due to health concerns. So Teagle, who herself was a Jack Sparrow impersonator before she met the spirit, started to develop perennial abscesses and psoriasis just 2 weeks after their marriage, she has claimed.
Why is that his fault?
Well, we get into it. She insisted that she began to develop abscesses every time she had sexual encounters with her ghostly partner, and so stopped all sexual contact. Teagle then claimed the abscesses improved after she broke off their sexual relations, but she's also developed a far more dangerous condition, when she contracted sepsis last May.
Sorry, sepsis isn't anything to laugh at, but this woman isn't well, Rob. And local and newspapers, whatever they are, shouldn't be exploiting her.
Alex, she knows she isn't well, which is why she ended the relationship. Are you not listening? In a state of worry about her worsening health, Teagle said that she confronted the spirit who she believed was stealing her energy. However, her attempts to break up with the ghosts were met with threats against her life, according to Teagle, The ghost who is also sorry. The ghost, who is also believed to have killed her dog Toby after the dog acted aggressively, became terrifying when Teagle wants to break up with him.
Sorry, say that again. The ghost killed her dog?
The ghost, who is also believed to have killed her dog Toby after the dog acted aggressively. Yeah.
What do you mean believed to have? By who?
Well, her,
if she's got a dead dog, maybe she'll kill... Did she have a dog in the... You can't just put a throwaway line like that in a newspaper article. You need to investigate it. What happened to Toby? Did Toby exist? Did she kill Toby? Who killed Toby?
Alex, the Haitian ghost killed Toby. Why do you not believe this woman, Alex?
Maybe it was Michael Heseltine that killed him.
Maybe it pot round and blamed it on the ghost.
We'll retract that.
Maybe it was Michael Heseltine playing a really elaborate prank all along. Maybe he was the Haitian ghost.
Oh, he's got nothing else better to do.
No. It was terrifying seeing completely different sides of the lovely spirit I'd seen before. But I knew in my heart I didn't want to get rid of him. My health was getting so bad that I was going to have to let it die. Teagle claims that her health improved dramatically since she called it quits with the pirate ghost, and she is now finished with the spiritual world. She has 5 children from a previous marriage with a living man. Believing she is...
Imagine if she had 5 children with a previous ghost and they were ghost children. Can you get child benefit for ghost children? It's a good question. Can you register? Okay, Rob, you worked in births, deaths and marriages. If I came to you and said I need to register a birth, how do I have to show you the baby, or can I just say I've had a baby?
Well, no. What normally happens is you'll get a notification from the hospital saying the baby's born, and then we will call up on the system, and then we would go through so that we do have some notification, and also we would normally ask for a letter from the hospital just to confirm the details.
Okay, I've had a home birth. My kid's called Robin.
Yeah.
How do I register? Can I register it without showing you the baby?
You'd need to the midwife to see you first before registering. So we have to have some evidence, Alex.
I need to have a fraudulent. And say, I need to have a midwife.
Yeah. Yeah, unless you can contact a midwife who's in on it as well. You can't just turn up and say, I've given birth, here's my ghost baby, is this okay?
Right.
My question is, did she introduce her 5 other children to her new ghost husband?
Well, it'd be if she was married to it, you'd have to.
Yeah, just in case anyone has forgotten the story, marriage to a ghost is legal in some countries such as France and China. China can kind of accept. France seems bad.
I can't, Rob, accept China doing this. I'll tell you why. We know, don't we, Rob, that it's a little known secret, actually, I think, in Hollywood, that they are really hamstrung by what they can do in movies because of China. So China have made this demand on Hollywood for many years that you don't have ghouls and spirits really in the big movies. Because they find that very objectionable. So it surprises me that you're allowed to marry a ghost. I'm sure there's something about that. Let me look it up while you
possibly. So as I said before, the marriage took place in international waters, so it would be upheld when they returned to Ireland. Jack was represented by a skull and crossbones flag, which was specially designed with a specially designed wedding ring, which was placed on a candle, as obviously you can put it onto his finger. And he gave his vows with the help of a medium, while a shaman priest presided over the marriage. So
yes, I was right. So, for example, they banned the remake of Ghostbusters and things like that, and so a lot of movie studios wishing to appease the Chinese just won't have that in the movie in the first place.
But is that because it's either maybe a fictional or a comical representation, whereas this it was a genuine loving marriage? Do you think that's the?
I've got no fucking idea. This woman annoys me. She needs help. Get her help, Rob.
I mean, Alex, this was 2 years ago. I mean, we don't know what's happened since, but hopefully she's living happily.
Oh, right, it's 2 years. Oh, right, so she did the research for us that we should have done in the first place, Claire.
Well, it was all a listener story. I think we had various listeners submitting these stories, but hopefully she's healthy and happy with her new partner and or dog.
Right, well, that brings us to the end of this episode 341 of LA Podcast, Rob. We look forward with a mixture of eager anticipation yet trepidation to our next episode, which will be episode 342, as we move ever more forward, Rob, like, I guess like a 51-year-old right-handed man, Rob, getting out of hospital, grateful to have his life after a near-fatal stroke, getting into his car, and the first thing he does, Rob, is whip out a copy of Big Rabbit and have a good self-love session. We've all been there.
Big Rabbit or Massive Thumpers?
No, I find Massive Thumpers to be... It's a crude sister publication. I find that exploitative, actually.
Right.
I prefer Big Rabbit. It's yeah.
It's classier.
And there's some good journalistic pieces in there as well.
I know you're going to read it for the articles, don't worry.
But I think Playboy, with the whole Playboy bunny thing on their back about copyright and all the rest of it. Anyway, that's another story. I mean, that's one for the forums, Rob, not our forums, the erotica rabbit forums. And just so you know, Jessica Rabbit gets short thrift there, Rob, because she's not a rabbit, she's a cartoon woman. So
I don't know, Alex. I've seen some images where someone have they've obviously taken it very literally. There's a lot of hentai out there. That's all I'm going to say.
Right. Right, Rob. As we move ever more forward to our next episode, 342, we can be found on our website, lapodcast.net. From there, you can be like Claire, because you can manually download all of our previous episodes if you want them. Probably a good thing to do, actually, because you never know when these technology companies will go tits up and all those episodes might be lost on the servers. So download them. You will always have them if you do that. There's a donate button in the top right-hand corner. Because actually, Rob, we don't actually have all the episodes. We're reliant on these servers as well. We don't even have them all, Rob. What does that say? How are you going to play them, Rob, to your great-grandchildren? When once the polar ice caps have melted and we've got fire whipping at our window, licking at our windows and floodwater pouring in, which probably will only be in about 10 years, how are you going to play those episodes, Rob, to Lyra?
So what you're saying, in the midst of a climate pandemic, my advice just to be, let's all sit down and listen to a podcast that Daddy recorded in 2012.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, you can put it. I'll download some.
There's a donate button in the top right-hand corner of the website if you want to donate to the worthy cause that is this podcast. We're on Twitter @LA Podcast. We're on Facebook at facebook.com/LA Podcast. We're on Spotify. We're everywhere. Wherever you're downloading us from, whatever podcast app you're using, Apple Podcasts, whatever it is you're using, please subscribe. Please take the time to leave us a review. Claire, if you haven't left us a review, we'd appreciate that. All our listeners, new or old, if you haven't done that, please do it. Now, let's get rid of all that now. All that bureaucratic stuff, housekeeping. And now, Rob, let's get on to the headlines, which never made it. How many have you got, Rob?
3.
Okay, then I'll do 3 as well, just to keep it nice. I'll start. Olympic cameraman stopped filming field hockey to focus on a cockroach in the game's final minutes, baffling fans. And I've seen this footage. It's at a really crucial moment of the game, and he just starts filming this cockroach really close up.
Fantastic. Love that.
I mean, cockroaches aren't really my thing, I'll be honest. More rabbits and...
No, but maybe he was trying to branch out. Maybe he was trying to go into like nature documentaries, that kind of thing. So my first one, AA driver dumped couple and broken car at service station because his shift had ended.
I don't believe that. I'm a member of the AA and I found them to be very helpful, and I'd be disappointed if that was the case. Are you sure they didn't call somebody from Alcoholics Anonymous by accident? Okay, 5 parrots separated at UK zoo after encouraging each other to swear at guests.
Brilliant. Love it. German pensioner given hefty fine for World War II tank in house.
Fuck off! What do you mean in? How big is their fucking house? Was it a miniature, like a toy one, or was it?
No, it was a full-size World War II tank. Apparently, he had.
So were they a Nazi sympathiser, and they've been like hiding out all this time, ready to unleash with their one tank on the world?
Apparently, he had quite an arsenal. Apparently, he was a military collector and had a small arsenal in his house, including a full-size tank.
You know, I'm a collector myself. Oh, Rob, we've always said to listeners, we don't write this, we don't script it. How is this for a coincidence? Next headline. Hitler's wife's knickers sold at auction.
I mean, if it was to
probably
this
the same guy.
It probably is.
The same guy.
Yeah. I mean, who wouldn't want those? And my last one, mum called Jane upset at Marks and Spencer's for selling treats called Plain Janes. a mother got upset because she just objected to the treats.
Right.
Yeah.
Why was she upset with the treats?
Because they were called Plain Janes, and her name is Jane. And because apparently her life is that empty that this is the kind of thing that she needed to object to. Which again kind of reinforces the name Plain Jane, which is a bit of a shame, but...
There's a kind of limerick in here somewhere, I feel.
That's another day, I feel.
If anybody wants to write that limerick about Plain Jane and the Marks and Spencers and everything that was in that story, please do, and please send it to us and we'll read it out on the podcast. Right, that brings us to the end, Rob, of this episode 341. I'm really losing track of episode dates now, Rob. Thank you very much for listening, everybody. We've really enjoyed your company as always. Get those listener stories in. You can tweet them to us at LA Podcast. You can post them on Facebook, or you can email us the good old-fashioned way, lapodcast.net@gmail.com. That is lapodcast.net@gmail.com. We will be back in a couple of weeks, no more. That's a promise. God bless.
And keep it local.